Folks, thanks for tuning in with us today. My name's John Dulas with Premier Marketing. We'll be spending the next 45 minutes to an hour or so discussing and delivering detail on how to market yourself digitally. It's a different world we're in today, and these simple suggestions that we have for you across different pieces of social media and other means of electronically communicating may be valuable to you in growing your agency and your business. Today's presentation is being recorded, and it, along with much of the information we'll reference throughout the course of the presentation, will be sent to all who had RSVP'd to today's presentation, and that will include a link to today's recording and the presentation itself. A bit of housekeeping, if you would. In the software system for the webinar, there is a questions box. If you would put your questions in that area as they occur, we may answer them through the course of the presentation. We will certainly address them toward the end as well if they're not addressed in the presentation. And if we need to do research, that will come with the follow-up as well. So a little bit of background about our organization. Premier is a national marketing organization founded in 1968. We're part of the Integrity Marketing Platform with offices across the country. We act as an insurance wholesaler, providing insurance services through independent insurance agents such as yourself. And those contracts that we offer are available at the highest possible commission levels, with recruiting contracts available to those who qualify. As I mentioned, we were founded in 1968, so we've recently celebrated a milestone in our history, our 50th anniversary, which is quite an accomplishment for what began as a small family agency in rural Nebraska that's grown into one of the largest marketing organizations in our shared space. We do so through a full portfolio of products that offers the national carriers and many of the strong regional carriers in each of the categories. That includes Medicare programs such as Medicare Advantage and Med Sup plans, Part D prescription drug programs, the standalone Part D plans, and a full portfolio of life insurance and annuity products that include final expense and pre-need plans, long and short-term care programs, disability income plans, and ancillary benefits that include dental, vision, hearing, critical illness, cancer plans, and hospital indemnity programs. We often speak to the opportunity that we have in the Medicare space. It has its own language. We have a decoder here for you if you like. If you're interested in an acronym decoder, we'll send this to you at your request. It's a large document, won't come with the regular follow-up, but it's a burgeoning market that everyone speaks to, and it applies to more than just a Medicare product. It applies to people across the board who are influenced by a strong segment of our aging population, the silver tsunami, the aging of the baby boomers, 10,000 people a month, one every 10 seconds. Well, if you looked at the Medicare market itself, this number is not a true indicator of the size of that market because some people don't access Medicare benefits entirely when they turn 65. They'll defer them. And about a sixth of the Medicare base benefits are actually delivered to folks who are under 65, accessing those benefits because of medical disability. So it's a diverse population that has a number of challenges going on with health conditions and their wallet, and we have to come up with means to reach that population to deliver the care that's available through the programs that we offer to our prospects and clients. There's a number of ways to do it, of course, but we need to do it in a fashion that will address each of the selection types of coverages that our folks determine is best for them. Sometimes an education process will change that determination, and we see it's a pretty even spread across the board. So our delivering information through tools such as electronic selling and telesales pieces, an entirely different webinar. We did that recently. There will be a link to this in the follow-up as well. But since we have a means to sell that population electronically and remotely, it only makes good sense that there is obviously a means to reach them in that circumstance as well. I mentioned earlier we're kind of in a strange time now, but keep in mind there have been 13 bull and bear markets since World War II in the United States history. There's been a number of challenges that have gone around the world because of health circumstances. And think back to Willie Shakespeare's time. A little bit of enforced unemployment brought some really beautiful things out of it. And I think that's one of the things we need to realize is we have an opportunity to use this time period and good things will come out of it. So as we speak of marketing ourselves digitally, why would we want to be on social media? What are some of the common myths that exist about social media? What are some of the major platforms that are out there? How do we get people engaged and how do we create good content? Well, we all need to be on social media because it's inexpensive marketing. You don't rent the content, you own it. It's a level playing field. You have the same opportunity as anybody else. There may be huge companies out there with big budgets that are dumping money into automated campaigns or whatever. You have the same opportunity to reach the same population in many of the same ways and in many ways that are unique to you. And particularly now, it's where the people are. Over 70% of the people in the United States are active Facebook users. And for folks that are generally in the age demographic that we're pursuing, that's that demographic. And it's also a medium that gives us the opportunity to be flexible with what we're doing. If we use hardcore old-time snail mail, which is still effective, you can't really change the message once it's out there. You can't adapt to the change in the environment as time goes by either. But these mediums give us the ability to ask questions, we can run polls, we can start discussions, and we can go viral, which may not be a good term to use at this particular time, but appropriate yet still. So some of the common myths that we see, well, seniors, they're not on social media. Well, 270 million users in the United States, a third of which are baby boomers. Over 80 million baby boomers are using social media. It's unprofessional. Anything can be unprofessional if you want to work it that way. And some of the content that we see on some of the pieces of social media, well, yeah, some of those folks won't say some of that things face to face, but it's not necessarily unprofessional in the fact that you consider how much of corporate America is using social media. 2/3 of the Fortune 500 companies are on it, as well as some of the most successful business leaders in America. I follow a number of those individuals, Mark Cuban, Bill Gates, a number of the motivational people like Tony Robbins. There are people out there that are using the medium to their advantage and very successfully. You also see some of the big boys in the insurance world using it, some better than others, and some that we can really use as a model for some of our own efforts with it and piggyback on some of the partners that we have in the insurance world that are using social media. One of the things that we need to be aware of, however, if we're using it as a means to solicit prospects, we still have to follow compliance guidelines. We need to know what is agent use only, what is not for distribution to the public. And if we're using a company's logo in our material, not just the shared piece, we need permission. And each of the carriers that we deal with, they have a social media policy of which you need to be aware. It's the old, if you know the rules, they apply to you. If you don't know the rules, they still apply to you too. Ignorance is not an excuse. So we need to make certain that if we are utilizing something supplied to us by one of our carrier partners, that we're using it in a fashion of which they approve. Some of the major pieces that are on there, major platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. Should have pulled Instagram up and put it in this section too. When I go through and I look back at some of the past presentations we've done on social media, Google Plus used to be on here, if you recall that. Well, that's just an indication of how some things can change. Google can still be our friend in some of the ways that we use that tool, but as a social media platform, they shut that down in 2019. So some different things that can come into play, and each of these particular platforms have their own purpose and their own elan, so to speak. I've been looking to use that word. Some different things that we can use within that space as long as we're aware of what we're doing. One of the first things we need to do is we need to think like Alice in Wonderland when she fell in the hole and she looked up and she saw the Cheshire Cat. But sir, which way do I go? Well, where are you headed? Well, I don't know. Well, then it doesn't matter what direction you take. That's a kind of a poor marketing plan, to say the least, if we were going to ask Mr. Carroll for advice. One of the first things we need to do, however, is create a plan as to what we want to accomplish within the realm of social media. It doesn't have to be an all at once, all at the beginning type of program, but we need to map out our strategy and what we would like to do with the tools that are available to us. So, setting up some goals. Some examples: you're informing your clients of industry changes. This is a great way to modernize some of the old newsletter effect that many agents still do in paper and ink, where they send out a monthly or quarterly biannual newsletter, or at least a Christmas letter of sorts. It gives us an indication then of how we can communicate in a very fluid manner with our clients. If social media may not be the place for you to do that because you have to have your other folks on it, of course, having an electronic newsletter is a strong point in any part of your marketing plan. Many folks use social media for generating leads. Right now, Facebook leads are really hot. We'll talk about them in just a little bit, but it's a great way to generate quick interest, and you're going to find that depending upon how you set up a lead system, they'll book their own appointments. They may actually even sell themselves if you do it correctly. If you are one of those individuals that has created and maintains a website, using social media is a great way to increase the website traffic. If you don't have your own website, obviously that's something to consider. We'll talk about that in a bit. But many of our carrier partners are establishing a personalized URL, a URL, or a little microsite for some of their services. Utilizing that as part of the contract that you have with the carrier through our organization or others is a great way to drive business third party, where we are encountering a population that wants to do investigation on their own. They want to narrow down some choices. They want an opportunity to ask questions, and then they don't mind self-enrolling either. So having that microsite and increasing website traffic is a great part of setting up your goals. It's also a great way to harvest referrals. You get a conversation going on social media and different people are talking back and forth as to how well some things worked, which means you need to work to make certain it went well. It's a great way for other folks to ask for information very, very quickly. And it'll help if you have different programs set up throughout the year as part of your plan to generate referrals. It's a conscious effort to use that. You can use the different calendars to set it up, the Google Calendar, Outlook, Planner, however you want to do it, but create a plan, put it down, and then adhere to it. It's also important to look at it and make certain that you realize, well, this is working really well. Great effort. We got to make certain that we focus on that. Or this, not so much. Let's see what we can do to tweak it to make it work better. Some of the things also that can come into play, can help you quite a bit, is theme some of your plan. So obviously, there are different topics throughout the year that are focused by different health and life organizations, the different charities that are out there, and they supply a plethora of material that you can use in your own social media campaigns. The American Heart Association, the American Cancer Society, all of these different programs that have an awareness campaign as well can be great material for you to use in your own social media efforts. Part of what you need to do, however, is make certain that you follow those organizations so you can have access to that information. They'll let you know. But it also then gives you the material that you need to stay active in the space as well. Because it doesn't do any good to set up a platform, set up a plan, and then, when I get around to it. We need to make certain that we're active on it, post consistently with good information, and do it at least one a day. And then, of course, there are also some different buzzwords that folks may search for as well that can be very helpful for you when you're working on the different posts or blogs that you're using to drive traffic through social media. And those are some of the things you do in your everyday life as an insurance professional, the area in which you concentrate, the different pieces that come about because of health conditions. All these different things are buzzwords that will pull you into the consciousness of the folks that you're looking to reach. You can hire this done too, by the way, if you want. This is one example of a company that does this. Hootsuite has a nice campaign that will actually set up a CRM, different pieces of messaging, work you through different types of social media. There's a free version that will actually allow you to post on up to 3 social profiles at the same time. And there are paid options. If you want information about this or other programs specifically, we'll send part of that as part of the follow-up. But we mention this just because there are some folks that may get to looking at it and go, "Ooh, that's a little overwhelming." Well, the elephant can be overwhelming if you want to eat it all at once. And sometimes having the great hunter beside you can help. So these are a suggestion for some. It's important first, the first step, get signed up. Most of us have Facebook accounts. Most of us, when we're in that Facebook space, they're personal. If you're working this as a business opportunity, some folks want to separate that from their personal life. I know I've got a couple nephews and nieces that I don't think I'd really want to expose the great business world to on a regular basis. Great people, but they're just characters, and sometimes you want to keep family and business separate. Plus, some of the things that are necessary in order to purchase advertising or things of that nature in Facebook, it's got to be a business account anyway. LinkedIn, one of the other more heavily trafficked social media mediums, is a little bit different in its approach for the feeling that you get with it, where many times LinkedIn gives you more information about industry trends, longer pieces of content, things of that nature. Facebook seems to be more about human communication. You can still use both of them as a means to pursue business, but it may be different aspects of the business. Facebook being more lead generation, not that you can't on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn may be more of a business professional type of situation. So when we're looking at getting agents engaged or gaining that audience, one of the things you got to consider is the law of large numbers. Consider the 80-20 rule. 20% of your clients make up 80% of your business. Where do those folks come from? What do they have in common? If you're able to lay out in your mind where they come from, drill down to an age demographic, are they male or female? Do they have certain shared hobbies, education level? They work in the same area. When you're looking at that, it gives you then a means to not only more narrowly approach some of the prospects, but it also gives you an idea on certain platforms where advertisements can be placed if you're purchasing ads. And it's interesting to note that different parts of the country may react differently. So someone down in Florida assisting 65-year-olds with Medicare supplements, they could have different content than an agent in Texas who's looking for under 65 business, obviously. So you're going to want to tweak some of it, the information that you are providing and how you're pursuing it based on your target audience. And one of the ways to get to know those folks is to run surveys and ask questions. It's the Herb Tarlick School of Selling. You're wearing a plaid jacket, you're opening your coat and saying, "Hey, I got a watch here. You want to buy one?" Not necessarily. You want to find out, do they even like the jacket before you start selling a watch? Some of it as well is utilizing some of the folks that you work with now to help you with your efforts. Identifying brand ambassadors. That might be folks that are part of your current base of business, your family, your friends, and asking them to like and share. It's a big piece that can really drive the business through. And so getting past that initial reluctance to say, hey, this is part of what I do, share what I do, you'd be surprised how quickly that will tumble into other people's viewpoints simply because the folks you're already in contact with are helping with those efforts. And if you're approaching this on a business aspect, you're an insurance agent, you don't necessarily have to say, bam, pow, it's going to happen here. There are different things that you can use that will get your message across without being offensive or really out there. There are some folks that actually use that approach, though. They will differentiate themselves by Mac the mattress salesman or whatever it happens to be. So part of it is you got to be mindful of the image that you want to present as well, and that when it's out there, you can't pull it back. You can trim it, adjust to it, but be mindful of the approach you're taking from the beginning. Hence, that circles back to that, have a plan. And make certain that you're responding to the folks that are responding to you. If they're giving you details as to what they want, well, gee, there you go. It also gives you then an indication of what is drawing interest, and it gives you then the opportunity to be of value to those customers as well. Because most folks that go on these media platforms, they're not looking to be sold something necessarily. That's, well, gee, you can Google and find anything for that. But provide them different pieces of value, keep them updated on what's important in your world that you share with them, and it'll create value for you and the brand that you are creating. Some of the other things we need to do, however, is be careful about how we're posting as well. If some of the mediums that we're using are text heavy, well, we got to make certain that we're using the proper text and presenting it in a readable fashion. Some of the other mediums are really image heavy. For example, Instagram, really image heavy. So we want to make certain that we utilize the communication tools that are available to us, text, pictures, whatever. What does the image, or what is best supported by the platform that we're using? Some of them will support hashtags, hyperlinks, like Twitter. Some of them not so much. So making certain that we use what is available within those different platforms that can help us draw our audience is really important. Just sharing a particular image without perhaps drawing additional attention to it through a like or a post won't get you the same result. It's also important to make certain that we know what we're talking about and we keep the message consistent. Keep in mind, we're not renting 30 seconds on television. Super Bowl, $1.5 million ad's not going to happen. This content's going to be out there, and you would be surprised how many people can dive back into the ranks of history and pull information from the past. So we need to make certain that we are not only consistent, but accurate. And it's important that we be authentic, be ourselves. We all have our strengths that we can highlight in these mediums, and it's important that we do so in a fashion that tells people about who we are and why they want to do business with us. When we look at creating good content, it's always important to make certain that we share that personal, pertinent information that's relevant to the topic at hand. But many times, some of the other partners that we have in the space will have done that for us. So sometimes sharing articles by others, be it organizations such as ours, insurance companies, those places like American Heart and those different organizations as well, it gives us an opportunity to share that and also then state our opinion and point out part of what's pertinent to us and to our audience as that comes out of that article. So it's a great way to have ready-made material set for you just by being aware of what's being communicated to you as well. And if you find it interesting, you can reasonably assume, I know what Tony Randall said about assume, you can assume that that's going to be of interest to the folks that we communicate with on a regular basis as well. It's also important that we create activity and events. And with this, it gives us an opportunity that, particularly now, there are a ton of folks out there that are working remotely. We're working on through the internet. We're working through different packages like Zoom, presenting different seminars virtually. Having those sorts of events on a regular basis are important because it helps your audience recognize that you're active in the space, but giving them updates about those events will draw attention to the event itself and will help the readability of what you are presenting through those events. The value is drawn by the fact that you are publicizing it, and yes, it's happening. Yes, it happened. These are the things that came about from it. There are tons of different memes out there as well, and obviously we have to be careful about what we use in those, but many folks love pieces such as this, the positivity that can come out of a dark day, the silver lining in the cloud, those different pieces that obviously as we go through different things, being an encourager, that's a big part of creating our image and whether or not somebody wants to be involved with communication with you. Keep in mind, Joe Negativity, not so much fun all the time to keep it in our space. The dude that walks around with the black cloud over his head getting rained on all day, well, generally, for those of us who like to keep dry, we tend to stay a little away from that. So positivity in some of the images that can come out in these circumstances can make a big difference. There are those of us with warped sense of humor that really like to use humor, no matter if we're good at it or not. Sometimes we think we're funny, sometimes we just know we're trying. With this particular circumstance, though, you would be amazed at the people that respond to cat and dog videos. One of the most active folks that I follow on LinkedIn raises chickens. And she's in a big city, so it's not like, you're in Arkansas at a Tyson poultry farm. It, however, references and personalizes her. She's a farmer's agent, so it's kind of interesting that she uses a farming technique. But different pieces like that personalize your message, and also the fact that all of us could use a good joke every now and then. As long as it's a good joke, keep it there and then ask people to like, comment, and share it. Some of the other ways that you can bring in quality Facebook posts or posts for other pieces of medium that social medium that you're using is those companies we do business with. So once again, if you're a life insurance agent and you're not using some of the material from lifehappens.org, a mild rebuke from John here, shame on you. They got a ton of really nice material there that you can use, and it gives you detail about the topics that you're pursuing anyway. The carriers that we work with put out great material as well, and utilizing that material is ready-made meal for our grist mill that we're pushing through social media as well. So there's a ton of different pieces out there. Once again, that's great content. People will say, you're asking us to post at least once a day? Boy, that's a lot. Not really. You kind of have to winnow down what you want to do and not overdo it. Some of the things about Facebook, some quick facts. Well, it's less than 20 years old, and there's a 1.3 billion plus users on it. 1 out of every 5 page views in the U.S. is on Facebook. Having such a large audience can be good and bad, but how we reach out and utilize that audience can make a huge difference for us. It also can make a huge difference if we're not just organically growing our business here, if we're purchasing advertisements and where they're placed. That can make a huge difference. It's a huge pool. There's always another fish in the sea. Well, in this case, there's over 1.3 billion of them. They aren't always the fish we want to eat, so we want to make certain that we're doing what's appropriate for it. Some of the folks that we approach through these different social mediums will be looking at it from different devices. But one of the most functional or most frequent that comes about is a phone. Those smartphones are everywhere now, and having that in mind when creating different pieces of outreach so it reads properly, so that you can see that it scrolls properly, that can make a huge difference. There are some folks, obviously, that, oh, gee, I don't look. My phone is for dialing. That's it. Not really. There's not too many folks that do that anymore, but there are some desktop users and other folks that come into play. But if you're using ads and you're using Facebook to do it, you're going to need a business or company page to do that anyway, and creating that then gives you an idea on how that ad should be set up. Some of the different pieces that can help you in that regard, you've got an option of using some tools that are available through Facebook without additional cost, such as their reaching and targeting initiative, and that'll give you profile information to promote what you want. So it'll help you drive likes to your page, helps you get a post on your page, or creating new ads about it as well. So it'll also allow you to target by all sorts of criteria, and it allows you to design and pay for your ad in different ways as well. So you've got a lot of flexibility that comes into play with it. A recent update I saw on Facebook in one of the chat groups, a gentleman had charged or spent about $1,000 on Facebook ads, had 187 responses, and 114 appointments out of it, or genuine interest out of it. So what you've got there is a person who's done it for a while, obviously, but it's someone who realizes the audience they are pursuing and are targeting that message specifically for that audience, and using some of the tools Facebook allows us to accomplish that. There are also different ways that you can drive additional business through other types of electronic means. You can create a blog using your Google account free. It's quick and easy. I mean, if I can do it, you most certainly can do it. I use mine, a lot of it, as a way to drive some of the informational articles that I read or that I hope to read into a singular place, so I don't have to dive through a whole bunch of files to do it. But it's also a way for you then to create your image, in a manner of speaking, as this, you're the expert in this field. It shows you that you're the subject matter expert. That's what I was searching for there. And these blogs can also help increase your search engine ratings, the SEO, and by using different keywords within them. If you have a website, a blog's a great way to draw attention to the site as well. You can pick a title for the blog and an address, the URL, and your address will be, there you go. And it gives you an option to buy a domain, but you don't have to. I've got several domains that I have purchased that I've never used. Sure looked good at the time when I was buying them, but it's also a great way then to start building up your content. Here's a sample of some of the articles that I post on Medicare Agent News, and it gives us an opportunity then to go through and see topics of value. Since this has a outreach to agents within our industry, generally in the health and life area, those articles are in that vein as well. So, are you going to build it? Or are you going to just buy it? If you build it, they will eventually come. And the hardest thing that we may have to encounter in this circumstance is being overly enthused or easily discouraged. We live in a microwave society. Social media gives us an access to that microwave very quickly. We can get some quick results, but it's also something that will need to be built over a period of time, once again, through a plan and with consistency. If you get into different pieces of this and you decide that that's not the most effective use of my time, there are, as I mentioned, companies out there that will be happy to help you with these campaigns through a business arrangement. Translation, you're going to pay for it, but they will help drive that for you. If you do buy, there are certain lead programs that we have at Premier that will help. Facebook final expense lead programs, and we're rolling out some information on Medicare leads as well. If you look at LinkedIn as a means of reaching out to folks, it's a little older than Facebook. There's over 200 million members. More than 2.8 million companies have a company page. Students and college graduates are the site's fastest growing demographic. And according to the Consumer Electronic Reports, nearly half of the LinkedIn users have household incomes of over $100,000. So if you're reaching out for folks with a different type of income demographic, this may well be it. LinkedIn is known for being more professional and business oriented than other social networks. You'll actually have some folks on there that will periodically chastise you if you try to be too funny, or here I'm posting, here's a happy picture of a cute little parakeet, whatever it happens to be. This is, however, a great way to network with friends and colleagues, generate leads, establish credibility, even seek employment. But one of the things that we find is there is no such thing as an original idea. This is a great way to glean information then on different business techniques and work with folks that are much like us, much like you, for the same end means, being successful in our chosen endeavor. With this organization or with this platform, it's important that we create and keep current a solid profile. Complete profiles get more views, and you think of it kind of as a resume. There are many people out there now don't update a resume. They keep it on the LinkedIn profile and pull it off of that. There are different keywords in your headline that you can use to draw attention to yourself. And sometimes having multiple titles can be even more impressive to some of your clients, as long as you don't get too carried away. It's important to maintain a bio, both personally and based on your profession, if possible. Keep it relatively short, but use some of those keywords that draw attention to you and what you offer. It also allows you to link to your website, your blog, and your Facebook page as well. Who are you going to connect with on LinkedIn? Well, obviously, birds of a feather flock together, so other insurance agents such as ourselves, different carrier reps. There are prospects out there that are looking for certain areas of insurance that you may offer and present. And it's a great way also to take advantage of and utilize the contacts that you've had both now and in the past with people you've worked with. And most of my family and this, they're pretty professional when we get on LinkedIn. Facebook, that's another animal. When you look at it as well, LinkedIn also will accommodate you and help you with your efforts in utilizing their platform. They have different packages that you can purchase to help be more successful with that platform. And they have some very nice training courses as well available for your use through this medium. When you look at these different pieces of social media, however, the ones that tend to come to mind first, what we've got there is making certain that we have checklists that we can provide for ourselves to lay up against the different companies or different platforms that we're going to use and companies we associate with. So as you go through and you experience different feedback through these different platforms, keep a list of the keywords you see that pop up most frequently in what you're reading. That'll give you an indication of people who are thinking like you, what they're looking for as well, and using those keywords in your data moving forward can help you. Setting up a Facebook profile, both professionally and business, and keeping them separate, it's much like what we referred to just a slide ago on the LinkedIn piece. It gives folks an indication as to who you are and what you want to do. Some people are very private on their personal part and less so on their business side. That makes sense for many things because there are some interesting characters out there. It's important to set up a Google account if you're going to use it for your email. If you're not, whatever. It also has a number of tools in there that you can use, and Google Ads can be very helpful to you as well. Googled anything you recently, I don't know, because I spend so much time on different pieces of information that apply to Medicare. I sure know of a whole lot of folks in my world that are advertising Medicare product through Google. Same sorts of things with setting up that LinkedIn account on a professional basis. It gives you then an information delivery source about you and what you're offering to the professional community, and that could be of great help to you in creating partnerships one way or another. And a little plug for us, find and follow all of our information too. These are the 5 we use the most: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and then of course LinkedIn. YouTube, we post a lot of the videos there. It's also a great place that, well, advertisements are very common there as well. Much as what you see when you Google information, if you watch a video on YouTube, or like me last night when Bob Seger was serenading me as I was creating different pieces, ads would come in between different songs based on YouTube. And strangely enough for me, a whole bunch of them centered around Medicare. So some different things that can come into play with the different pieces. One of the nice things that we have at Premier, and being a platform partner with Integrity, is having material available to us through our corporate motherhood, so to speak. Our Chief Marketing Officer, Ann Wood, gave a presentation to us all this morning, speaking of leveraging the power of social media, speaking of how content is king, and how we need to post that relevant, pertinent, personal information to make our ads part of who we are and create the image that we are projecting into the community. Some additional information may be forthcoming to us all very quickly on tools that come about because of our association with the Integrity platform and our partnership with Thomas Arts. I think one of the biggest things we need to realize as we become involved in the use of social media is we make it part of our plan. We determine that it's going to be a crucial part of all of our activity moving forward. Crucial does not mean all-encompassing. It, however, means we've planned and we are following through and working on our marketing, be it through social media, whatever other avenue we use, consistently, and we're eating that elephant one bite at a time. We don't have to have everything in place to start, and we don't necessarily have to have all the data planned out to match our campaign, because things do change. Because of the fluid nature of social media, it gives us that opportunity to be fluid and address those changes as well. Mapping out, however, a campaign is paramount for our success, because remember, Alice, you fall in a hole, you got to know which direction you're going to go. Some of the things we're going to do as well to help here at Premier is, of course, help you make certain that you protect yourself on the back end. We offer discounted E&O to our qualified agents through all of the different programs that we offer. And this is a program that doesn't add you to a blanket policy. It's you purchasing a program for yourself that covers you regardless of the program and regardless of whom you contract through. You're an independent agent running your own business, protect yourself. Make certain that your licenses stay in play. We can help you with CE in order to do that in all the arenas. We can help you with your own benefit package, even a modified guarantee issued DI piece for you personally, where you share at a discounted rate and in the commission. These different trainings, different subsets of what we talk about on a regular basis, be they marketing outreach such as today, or training about a particular carrier, or whatever it may happen to be. We record them. They're on our website at premiersmi.com. They're also on our YouTube channel. Please be sure to go in, particularly on YouTube, like and share. We also help make certain that all the compensation for all the programs that you're pursuing are available to you. We put them in one bunch, and if they're not Medicare Advantage or PDP programs because of the standardized comp, they'll also help you qualify for our trips as well. Please note, this is the trip that was to happen in a couple of weeks. We all know what's happening with cruises now. We can also help you with some of the other ways of marketing yourself a little more traditionally. For those of you who have a relationship with Ma Bell and like to smile and dial, we can help you with lists. We can also help you once you get back into the community. We are actually rolling out a webinar next month on retail marketing because, the Walmart selection period for this coming fall is already coming available. And there are also ways that you can market to the folks that help deliver the benefits that you're offering through your packages of programs that you're selling to the public. The providers, you're offering dental programs, how do you work with dentists? If you're offering health coverages, how do you work with docs and specialists? If you're working with pre-need programs, how do you work with funeral homes? Those sorts of programs. The marketers within our organization have that detail for you, and we can also help you with, once you get into centers of influence in the community, such as faith-based organizations, we have the seminar material available for you to work on a face-to-face basis. And there are agents that are using that virtually now through Zoom and through other programs that are out there that can help you reach out to the public now and still stay safely socially distant. Some of the carriers will offer you different leads as well. That will vary according to the plan type and the carrier as well. But we've talked about the internet leads with Facebook and some of the pieces that are there. We still support direct mail. Based on production, we discount the cost of that outreach. And utilizing this program in conjunction with social media can really drive up results. You can put a line in here that will drive people to your microsite, to your website, or to a Pearl that will enable them to enroll through the information you're providing on a letter. So keep that in mind. Integrating the different types of outreach can be very helpful to you and can be a key part of driving the success of social media through direct mail. All said and done, what we're looking to do is have an opportunity to earn your business and drive the business together. We'd like that opportunity to do so and are asking for it as we speak. Yogi Berra once said, I came to a fork in the roads, I had to take it. Yeah, he did. So this is your fork in the road here. Utilize social media or not. I got to tell you, with the way the world is, it's kind of hard not to if you want to be effective moving forward. Make it part of your program, integrate it into a plan that you create for that aspect and part of your overall marketing plan, and move forward with it. That's an important piece of whatever we need to do in our marketing circumstances. Now, checking questions before we adjourn for the day. Who is the CE partner? It's webce.com, and we'll make certain that that link comes to you as well so you can get the discounts on that program. Running through some of the others. Seem to be pretty well covered here. Oh, here's one. Pardon me. Who do you suggest we personally have to be in the YouTube video? I'm going to kind of interpret that question to a degree. On part of it, many folks, one of my pet peeves is some of the videos that you see on Facebook or on LinkedIn that are people that are videoing themselves off of their phone as they're driving. I don't necessarily consider that a strong platform from which to record yourself. It goes off your question a little bit, but one of the first things that I would do is make certain You know what message you want to put out there, and is it being delivered in an appropriate fashion? Who do you have in your video? My first chance, my first choice, that'd be you. You're publicizing you and what you do. You can share videos that are already made by organizations with whom you participate. You may bring in some of your family members to be part of the videos that you put out as well. That farmer's agent that I mentioned prior, she uses, her children are in a lot of her videos, and they're very effective. Personally, I'd make certain I know what my topic was. I'd practice a little bit, and I would go with me, with you. Is it acceptable to post the same thing in your company blog and you do on, pardon me, having some challenges reading my own thing here. Is it acceptable to post the same thing in your company blog and you do on social media, and should the content be different? I think you can vary it, but I don't think there's necessarily a need to do so. As long as it is appropriate, I think you can post the same thing both ways. Another question, is there a resource we can access to make certain we're staying compliant in our content? Yeah, a lot of it, JC, is some of the same stuff. If you're talking about a particular company or a particular product, follow the guidelines that are given to you by those organizations for print, and they will apply across the board for social media as well. Some of the other folks, well, they might have, one gentleman thinks I was speaking Greek. If I was, I apologize. I was attempting Swahili. Just kidding there. And this may not, it's, as I mentioned, it may not be a means for you to use in all circumstances, but it really does work for many people. What are some good platforms to receive posting ideas from? You mentioned a couple. Are there any more? What I'll do is I'll kick in a listing of some of the material that I reference on a regular basis. I think it can be very helpful for you. If you're active in the Medicare space, Medicare.gov and CMS.gov kicks out a ton of really good material. American Heart, American Cancer, all the different illnesses of that sort kick out really great material. The companies with whom you contract kick out a ton of material. So there's some different pieces that can come into play like that. But I'll get a listing together for you too, Kelly. When a client sends a friend request via Facebook, what's the best way to direct them to your business page instead? I don't like to accept friend requests from clients unless I know them outside of our business relationship. I think a big point there is to make certain that you have both, so you can direct them to your business page, and being upfront with them and honest. It's like, hey, this is great. I appreciate your request. This is the page that I use for that. So we can talk about business and we can keep it along those lines. So it can help you in that way a great deal. You are getting a copy of the presentation emailed to you, and it is being recorded, and that link will be sent to you as well. So all that said and done, I want to thank you for the time that you've invested with us on this electronic medium that we're using today. You can reach any of us here at Premier at 1-800-365-8208 or on our website at premiersmi.com. We invite you to visit any of our social media sites, like, share, all the wonderful things we need to do to be part of the electronic generation we are inevitably a piece of regardless. All that said and done, once again, thank you for your time. Hopefully you got some good information about today. Watch for the follow-up that will follow, hopefully by the end of the day, tomorrow at the latest. In the meantime, we wish you good health and good selling. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.